get ready because today we're going on a deep dive into something really incredible. Human reproduction.
Whoa.
I mean, we're talking about creating a new human life, right?
It really is remarkable how it all comes together.
It is. And we're going to go through this whole process. We're using a chapter from a biology textbook that goes, you know, really from A to Z on this.
A to Z.
So I'm excited to jump in.
Yeah.
I mean, where do we even begin with something like this?
Well, maybe starting with the basics.
Okay.
So we're talking about sexual reproduction,
Right.
You know, combining genetic material from two individuals.
Right. A sperm and an egg.
Exactly.
And it's viviparous.
Which basically means the embryo develops inside the mother's body,
right.
leading to live birth.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, okay, we know that, but it's not just like, boom, there's a baby.
Right, definitely
It's more
not.
complicated than that.
Many steps involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very specific order.
Okay.
It starts with the formation of sperm and eggs.
Right.
And those special cells that carry genetic information.
Got it.
That process is called gametogenesis.
Okay, gametogenesis. That's forming the sperm and the egg. So we've
Right.
got those. What happens next?
Well, then the sperm is going to make its way to the egg.
Okay.
That's where insemination comes in. And then we have fertilization.
Right.
When the sperm and egg actually fuse
That's
together.
just amazing to me to think about that. One sperm with half the genetic information, an egg with the other half, and they come together.
And a new person begins to form.
Wow. It really is remarkable. But that's not the end of the story.
Not at all.
We still have a ways to go. What happens? What happens next?
So that fertilized egg,
Okay.
now called a zygote, it travels down the fallopian tube and implants itself in the wall of the uterus.
So that's implantation? Okay.
Yes. And then comes pregnancy.
Right, 9 months of development inside the mother.
Yeah, that period of development is called gestation.
Okay, gestation.
And finally, we have parturition.
Which is?
Childbirth. Yeah.
Got it. So that's a very high-level overview of the process. But I think it's helpful to understand all the steps before we really zoom in and take a closer look at everything.
Yeah.
So let's zoom in a little bit. Let's talk about the sperm's journey. The male reproductive system is where it all begins.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what are the main parts there?
Well, you have the testes.
Okay.
Responsible for producing sperm. And the hormone testosterone.
Okay, that's important.
Yes.
All right, so we got the testes, and then what else?
You have accessory ducts, which act like a transport system, moving the sperm from the testes to the outside.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have the glands that contribute important fluids.
Got it. Yeah. So it's the tests that everybody kind of thinks about, and they're located outside the body.
Yeah.
In the scrotum. Why is that? Why are they out there? Seems a little vulnerable.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Seems like they should be protected.
You would think they would be inside, but it's all about temperature control.
Okay.
Sperm production is very sensitive to temperature, and it needs to be a couple degrees cooler
than
normal body temperature. So the scrotum acts like a natural thermostat.
Okay.
Keeps the testes just cool.
So it's like a built-in AC unit for the testes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It really is.
So inside each testes, you have these tiny compartments, testicular lobules.
Yes.
And within those, we have the seminiferous tubules. And those are like little factories.
Think of them as little factories.
They're churning out millions of sperm every day.
Millions. It's incredible.
It's a lot.
Yeah, the human body is capable of amazing things.
Yeah.
And it's not just about quantity.
Okay.
You know, each sperm is meticulously crafted with a very specific structure.
Got it.
To help it reach and fertilize the egg.
So it's designed for its job.
Yeah, it has a big job.
So walk me through this sperm factory a little bit.
Okay, so inside the seminiferous tubules, you have two key cell types working together.
Got it.
First, you have the spermatogonia.
Okay.
And these are the stem cells that ultimately give rise to sperm. Okay. So they go through a bunch of divisions and transformation, ultimately becoming mature sperm. And then you have Sertoli cells.
Okay, Sertoli cells, what do those do?
They act like support staff.
Okay.
They provide nutrients and structural support to the developing sperm.
Got it.
Yeah, they're like the nannies of the sperm factory.
I love that, the nannies. Right?
Keeping them in line.
So we have all these sperm being produced.
Right. Millions of them, you said.
Millions.
They don't just hang out in the testes, do they?
No, they have a long journey ahead of them. They move from the testes into a network of ducts.
Okay.
First, they pass through the rete testes, then the vasa efferentia, and then into the epididymis.
The epididymis.
Yes. Okay. A lot of new vocabulary.
Yeah, we're getting into it.
It is, but just think of it as a series of interconnected tubes.
All right, so tubes, got it. What is the epididymis?
The epididymis is like a boot camp for sperm.
Boot camp?
Yeah.
All right.
They spend about 2 weeks there.
Okay.
Maturing and gaining the ability to swim.
Okay, so they're learning.
They're learning all the moves for their big adventure.
Right, they got to be able to swim.
Yeah. So from the epididymis, the sperm move into the vas deferens.
Vas deferens.
A muscular tube that propels them upward during ejaculation.
Okay.
And this is where they'll meet up with fluids from the accessory glands.
Okay.
So this is where the seminal vesicles and the prostate gland and the bulbourethral glands
all come into play.
So what do those glands do?
These glands produce fluids that mix with the sperm to form semen.
Okay, so it's not just the sperm.
No.
There are these other things in there.
Exactly. And those fluids are packed with nutrients to energize the sperm. And they also help to neutralize the acidic environment of the vagina.
It's like a power-up.
It is. They're getting ready for the big game.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and that's the sperm.
Okay.
Now part of the semen.
Right.
Ready to leave the body through the urethra.
Okay, got it.
So that's the basic journey of sperm in the male reproductive system.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's very complex.
It is.
But obviously, that's not the end.
No, that's just the beginning.
We got to talk about the egg.
Right, the egg's journey,
We got to talk about the egg's journey next time, because that's the female reproductive system.
That's a whole other story.
We'll get to in part 2. But for today, that's it.
Right.
See you next time.
Yeah, next time.
Welcome back to our deep dive into human reproduction. Last time, we were talking about sperm.
Right, all those little swimmers.
Getting ready for their journey.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about where they're heading.
Let's shift gears.
Yeah, let's shift gears to the female reproductive system.
Okay.
What are the key players on this side?
Well, you have the ovaries.
Okay, the ovaries.
They're the real stars of the show. They're responsible for producing the eggs.
Okay.
Those precious cells.
Right.
That hold the other half of the genetic blueprint.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And they also produce hormones.
Yeah, I remember estrogen and progesterone.
You got it. Those are key for regulating the menstrual cycle.
Right.
And preparing the body for pregnancy.
Everything's connected.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So we got the ovaries. They're producing eggs. Where do those eggs go?
They travel through the fallopian tubes.
Okay.
Which are like delicate highways.
Connecting the ovaries to the uterus. Okay.
Yeah.
So the uterus, that's where the baby develops.
Exactly. The uterus is an amazing organ.
It is.
It's muscular, pear-shaped.
Yeah.
Designed to expand.
Right.
And nourish a growing baby.
Right, for 9 months.
For 9 months. And it's connected to the outside through the cervix.
The cervix.
Which is kind of like a gateway guarding the entrance.
So it's like the gatekeeper. All right, so we got ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus.
No.
What else?
Well, you can't forget the vagina, which is vital for both intercourse and childbirth.
Got it.
And then there's the external genitalia, which we won't go into a lot of detail about here. But they're important for sexual function and pleasure.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty complex, the female reproductive system.
It really is. Designed to work in perfect harmony. To support the creation and development of new life.
That's amazing.
It is.
So let's go back to the ovaries for a second.
Okay.
We talked about them producing eggs.
Right.
How does that work?
Well, it's called oogenesis.
Oogenesis.
And it's a fascinating story. Unlike sperm production, which is continuous, oogenesis begins before a woman is even born.
So a woman is born with all the eggs she'll ever have.
That's right.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, during fetal development, millions of immature egg cells called oogogonia are produced. But here's the thing. They actually start the process of cell division, but then they pause.
They pause.
Frozen in time until puberty.
So they're just waiting.
Just waiting for their cue.
Wow.
And by the time a girl reaches puberty, the number of eggs is decreased significantly.
Oh, okay. But there's still a lot left, right?
Only a few 100,000.
That's still a lot.
Yeah, it is. But each month, only a handful of those immature eggs are recruited to continue developing.
Got it.
So they grow larger.
Okay.
and the support cells around them multiply, forming a fluid-filled sac called a follicle.
A follicle. Okay, so it's like the egg's little home.
Yeah, like a tiny egg in its protective bubble.
It.
And as the follicle grows, it produces more and more estrogen. And that rising estrogen level signals to the uterus to start thickening its lining, preparing for a potential pregnancy.
So it's getting ready.
Yeah, getting everything set up. So you have these follicles developing in the ovary, and the uterine lining is getting thicker. What happens next?
Yeah, what happens next?
Well, usually only one follicle becomes dominant, and that's the one that will eventually release a mature egg. The other follicles kind of fade away.
So it's a competition?
It is like a competition.
Only one egg gets to go.
And around the middle of the menstrual cycle, a surge of luteinizing hormone, or LH, triggers the release of that mature egg from the ovary.
So that's ovulation.
That's ovulation.
Okay, the release.
The moment of release.
And if a sperm is there?
If a sperm happens to be waiting,
it could be fertilized?
Fertilization can occur. And if that happens, the fertilized egg continues its journey down the fallopian tube.
Down to the uterus.
And eventually
implants in the uterine lining.
Yes, beginning the journey of pregnancy.
That's amazing.
It is.
But what happens if the egg doesn't get fertilized?
Okay, good question.
I know I get my period.
Right.
But what's happening in there?
So if fertilization doesn't happen, that dominant follicle that released the egg, it transforms into something called a corpus luteum.
A corpus luteum. What's that?
It's Latin for yellow body.
Yellow body? Okay.
Yeah, and it actually has a yellowish color.
Oh, okay.
And it's an important hormone producer.
Okay, so it's producing hormones. What kind?
Mainly progesterone.
Progesterone.
Which helps to further thicken and maintain that uterine lining. So it's like creating a cozy nest just in case a fertilized egg arrives.
So it's giving it one last chance, even though it didn't happen this time.
But if the egg isn't fertilized,
the
corpus luteum eventually breaks down. Progesterone levels drop. And that's the signal for the uterine lining to shed.
So that's my period.
Which is what we experience as menstruation. Or a period.
Got it.
It's like the body saying, okay.
Let's try again.
Let's try again next month.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the basic cycle of the female reproductive system.
So we've got the sperm, we've got the egg. Let's say fertilization actually happens.
Right.
The sperm and egg meet in the fallopian tube.
Right. The big moment.
What happens then?
That's when the real magic starts. Fertilization is an intricate dance. A process with many safeguards to ensure everything goes smoothly.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, so first, the sperm have to navigate a challenging environment.
They got to swim.
They got to swim through the vagina, cervix.
Up to the fallopian tube.
Up into the fallopian tube, which is where they're most likely to encounter the egg.
Like a little obstacle course.
It is an obstacle course.
For microscopic swimmers.
And along the way, many sperm don't make it.
Oh, wow. So it's survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest, even at the microscopic level.
Even at the microscopic level, that's crazy.
But the journey's not over yet. The egg is surrounded by a protective layer called the zona pellucida.
Zona pellucida.
And the sperm have to break through that barrier to reach the egg's membrane.
So how do they do that?
Well, remember the acrosome we talked about earlier?
Little cap.
That cap-like structure?
On the sperm.
It comes equipped with enzymes that can dissolve a path.
Through the zona pellucida?
Through the zona pellucida.
So it's like a key?
It is, like a built-in key.
To unlock it.
To unlock the egg's defenses.
That's pretty amazing.
And once a sperm manages to penetrate the zona pellucida and fuse with the egg's membrane, a remarkable transformation occurs. The egg's outer layer instantly changes.
Oh, wow.
Becoming impenetrable to other sperm.
So only one gets in. It's like a one sperm only policy.
It is like a no vacancy sign goes up.
That's pretty amazing.
So only one sperm can fertilize the egg. So once the sperm and egg have fused, the sperm's nucleus, carrying its genetic material, enters the egg's cytoplasm. Then the egg completes its final division, forming a mature ovum. And finally, the two nuclei, one from the sperm and one from the egg, merge together.
So now you have the two sets of chromosomes, one from each parent,
creating a unique combination of genetic information. That's the moment a new individual is created.
Wow. And the sex is determined at that point too, right?
That's right. It all comes down to which chromosome the sperm was carrying.
X or Y.
An X or a Y.
So remind me, which one determines which?
So the egg always carries an X chromosome.
Okay.
But the sperm can carry either an X or a Y. If the sperm carries an X, the baby will be female.
X
female.
And if it carries a Y, the baby will be male, XY.
So it really is the father's contribution.
It is.
That determines the sex.
Yeah, it's one of the many fascinating aspects of human genetics.
Yeah, it really is. So we have the zygote now, a single cell.
With all the potential
to become a human
being.
Wow.
And that little zygote doesn't waste any time. It starts dividing almost immediately, embarking on a journey down the fallopian tube towards the uterus.
So it's on the move?
It is on the move. And as it travels, it keeps dividing, transforming from a single cell into a cluster of cells called a morula. And then it becomes a blastocyst.
You got it, the blastocyst. Yeah. It's a hollow ball of cells with an inner cell mass that will eventually develop into the embryo. And an outer layer called the trophoblast.
The trophoblast. And that's the part that's important for implantation.
Absolutely. When the blastocyst reaches the uterus, the trophoblast cells, they burrow into the uterine lining, embedding the blastocyst securely in the wall of the uterus.
So that's implantation.
That is implantation. The moment the developing embryo finds its
in the mother's body.
And
that's when it becomes a pregnancy.
That's
officially.
Right. And once implantation occurs, a whole new chapter begins. The developing embryo will undergo a remarkable transformation, growing and developing over the next 9 months.
And that's what we're going to talk about in part 3.
That's
right. So join us next time.
Yeah, for part 3.
We're going to talk pregnancy and fetal development.
It's going to be amazing.
It is. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've made it to the final part of our exploration of human reproduction.
We have. It's been quite a journey so far.
It has. It really has. We started with the sperm and egg, saw them come together during fertilization, and watched that tiny little blastocyst implant in the uterine lining.
It's amazing how much happens even before pregnancy officially begins.
It really is. So now we're here.
Now we're at pregnancy.
Pregnancy. What happens next?
Well, now we enter the world of pregnancy. And the remarkable transformation of that single cell into a fully formed human.
It's a 9-month odyssey.
It really is.
It's incredible to think about all the changes.
So many changes.
For both the mother and the developing baby.
Yeah, it's a testament to the power of biology.
It is. Yeah. And the intricate dance between those two lives.
Beautiful way to put it.
Okay, so we left off with implantation. The blastocyst is nestled in that uterine lining.
Safe and sound.
What happens next?
Well, the placenta starts to form.
The placenta. Right, that's really important.
Yeah, it's often called the lifeline between the mother and baby.
And I know it comes from those trophoblast cells.
It does, from the outer layer of the blastocyst. And they start to form these finger-like projections called chorionic villi.
Okay, chorionic villi. What are those?
Well, they kind of reach out into the surrounding uterine tissue.
So it's almost like the baby is sending out little roots.
That's a great analogy.
To connect with the mom.
Yeah, to connect with the mother's blood supply.
Okay, and so then what happens?
Well, through those roots, nutrients and oxygen from the mother's bloodstream flow into the baby's circulation. And then waste products from the baby are removed.
So it's like this amazing exchange system.
It is, like a high-tech filtration and delivery system.
All happening through the placenta.
Yeah, it's an amazing organ.
And it's not just that exchange. The placenta also produces hormones, right?
That's right. It acts like a hormone factory.
What kind of hormones?
Well, it produces human chorionic gonadotropin.
HCG?
HCG.
That's the one that pregnancy tests detect.
That's the one. Gives you the good news. It also produces progesterone, which is crucial for keeping the uterine lining thick and supportive. And it produces estrogen.
Estrogen.
Which helps with the growth and development of the baby's organs.
So the placenta is really doing a lot.
It's doing a lot, running the show.
Making sure everything's running smoothly.
Keeping everything in balance.
Okay, so we got the placenta. But what about the embryo itself?
Right, the embryo is also going through incredible transformations at the same time.
So we have those 3 germ layers, ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm.
Those are the building blocks for all the different tissues and organs in the body.
What do those become?
Okay, so the ectoderm, the outermost layer, gives rise to the skin, the nervous system, and the sensory organs.
Like eyes and ears.
Things like eyes and ears.
So that's the layer that interacts with the outside world.
Exactly. Then you have the mesoderm.
Mesoderm, the middle layer.
It's a middle layer
Okay.
that forms the muscles, bones, circulatory system, and the reproductive organs.
So structure and movement.
Structure and movement. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, and then last one.
And finally, the endoderm.
The endoderm, the innermost layer.
The innermost layer that forms the lining of the digestive tract, respiratory system, and other internal organs.
So digestion, breathing.
Yeah, all those internal processes.
So just from those 3 layers.
You get all the complexity
I get a human.
of the human body.
That's amazing.
It's incredible.
And all of that is happening within the first few weeks of pregnancy.
It's a period of rapid growth and differentiation.
So much happening.
By the end of the first trimester, around 12 weeks, most of the major organ systems have already formed.
It goes from a tiny little cluster of cells to a tiny human.
In just 3 months.
In just 3 months. That's mind-boggling.
It is, and it keeps developing and refining from there.
So by the end of the first month, the heart is already beating.
Already beating,
wow,
that's right.
Wow, that's so early.
It's amazing how quickly things progress.
And by the end of the second month, it has limbs.
It does, little
fingers
limbs.
and toes.
Tiny fingers and toes.
That's amazing.
So cute.
So we're actually seeing something that looks like a baby.
We are,
It's really coming together.
It's becoming more recognizable.
Okay, so what happens in the second trimester?
Well, the second trimester is all about growth.
Okay.
And things really start to take shape.
Got it.
The fetus continues to grow, movements become stronger. The mother can often start to feel those little kicks.
That's always so special for parents.
It is. Makes everything feel real.
It really does.
Yeah, and by the end of the second trimester, the fetus is covered in a fine, downy hair.
Oh, really?
Called lanugo.
Lanugo.
It's like a temporary fur coat.
It has hair.
Yeah, it's really fine.
Wow, I didn't know.
To regulate body temperature.
That's so interesting.
And the eyelids separate during this time, too. And the fetus even develops eyelashes.
Wow.
So much detail is
It's really coming together.
It's like a tiny human is being sculpted.
Little by little.
Piece by piece.
Okay.
And then we enter the third
trimester.
The
third trimester.
Yeah.
What happens in the third trimester?
Well, it's all about growth.
More growth.
Yeah, and preparation for life outside the womb.
So getting ready to be born.
That's right.
Okay, so what happens?
Well, the fetus gains weight rapidly.
Okay.
And its lungs mature, getting ready for that first breath of air.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then finally, childbirth.
Yes, parturition.
Parturition.
The culmination of all those 9 months.
Yeah, an incredible development. It's amazing to think that a process that starts with, 2 microscopic cells ends with a human being.
With a baby.
It really is a miracle.
It is, and it's a testament to the strength and resilience of the female body.
I think we've covered so much
in
this deep dive.
We've gone from the microscopic world of sperm and
the
eggs.
amazing journey of pregnancy and childbirth.
Yeah, it's been quite the exploration.
It's been incredible.
Yeah, it has.
Well, I think that's it for today.
I think so, too.
But like we said, this process is continuing to unfold.
It's the story of life itself.
It is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.
See you then.